Rob Seco, Future Farm. Today's innovations, tomorrow's solutions.
Welcome back to Future Farm. You know, we started out with a really great planting window here in early to mid-April where a lot of acres got planted. But really across the U.S. and the Corn Belt, we got a lot of weather that came in, a lot of rain that kept people out of the field, and it was just persistent rain that just wouldn't go away. Now we're 3 to 4 weeks later than what we would have liked to get all of our crop in, and that causes a lot of stress on the crop itself. I mean, we have more heat stress during pollination time, it's going to be later flowering, and a lot of different impacts. You know, it used to be that at this point we could just plant and pray. We didn't have a lot of tools to deal with this, but nowadays we've got a lot more tools to work with.
You know, speaking of late planting, here on Future Farm, last year we planted April 26th. Well, what happened on April 26th this year? We had a tornado, and it twisted up destroyed three of the pivots here. In fact, you can see our partner Valley is reconstructing a pivot behind us on the location of Future Farm. We'll do our planting here soon, but we're going to be later this year for sure.
Exactly. So Todd, how do we manage this later planting?
So as we move later, a lot of stresses come into play. And so we shorten up our grain fill period. The corn plant actually gets taller, so the internodes will elongate because it's competing for sunlight. So there's a couple things that we can do. We can stimulate that early planting season, and we can get better emergence, quicker emergence, and more day one emergence. And if we can speed up the emergence pattern, we can press forward our flowering period. If we can get our flowering period 3 to 5 days ahead with a product like this, look what we do to the grain fill period. And the longer our grain fill period is, the more grain we can produce.
Yeah, so you know, what do we think about in terms of what do we do to treat the crop, you know, whether it's corn or soybeans, in order to extend that grain fill period?
With our Streamline Ag portfolio, we're using a product called Tune-Up Plus for corn, Tune-Up Plus for soybeans. And it has a stimulation package with a bacteria that serves as a hormonal effect, and it makes cells divide and work faster, particularly under stress. And there's some protection factor and some support factors in that as well.
And then we've actually seen in some of our own observations that we can early up the flowering of that crop by about 3 to 5 days, depending on conditions and the crop itself.
It's a big impact, 3 to 5 days if you have that much longer of a grain fill period. Even think the backside, I think the last 20 days of the crop's life is very important. And so if we can extend that, even by 3 or 4 or 5 days, think what happens to your kernel depth. You get a deeper and deeper kernel, more grain.
Well, something else we're noting in the flag studies we're doing is higher populations with Tune-Up Plus and much better first day emergence.
Yep. Quicker first day emergence. We were just on our Future Farm in Algona, finished up that flag study yesterday, and it's a quadruple replication, and we had 4,000 more plants per acre, and you just can't make that up.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the elongation of the internodes within the crop, and that puts a lot of stress on lodging and everything. So how do we manage in season that stress to maintain not just yield, but also standability?
Yeah, we have a product in the Streamline Ag portfolio, again, known as NutriBoost Complete, and it brings to the table 2 different components that provide real stress mitigation, and so they boost the robustness of the plant naturally before the stress factors actually hit it. And if we can take some of that stress away as those internodes are elongating, we can build a stronger, firmer stalk, even though you have longer internodes, and we can lower the incidence of 1 green snap and then 2 maybe some late season lodging.
So these are a lot more tools than we've ever had before to manage a lot of these late planting implications.
Absolutely.